just a little boy, I asked my father, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Is what he said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be.
Hello, everybody. This is Alicia and Liz, and this is the Decoded TV network, and this is from Decoded. And today we are going to unpack just some fun little theories or thoughts that we had heading into the season 2 finale. Maybe some of it's from episode 9, but it's also just some other general things that we wanted to talk about. So we're going to discuss some of the symbols on the show, play with some anagrams, and tie up a couple loose ends or some questions that we've had that we would love your thoughts on as well. So, hey Liz,
Hi.
what's up?
Just anagramming.
Yeah. So for our listeners, explain quickly what an anagram is and why you felt compelled to play around with anagrams to see if it provided any clues or interesting commentary on this show.
Well, I think that most of our listeners, because we have a lot of good Redditors and detectives, know that an anagram is when you take the letters from a word and see what other words they can make.
Mm-hmm.
Letters, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Okay. So and then with the arrival of the new bus bees and the bus driver Bacta, Bacta having a fun meaning to her name. Do you remember what that was?
Yes, it was the military thing.
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that got me thinking, I wonder if, because they seem to enjoy puzzles and mystery box stuff like that. So I just thought, I wonder if I played around with some of the names of the characters and looked for anagrams, if I might find anything interesting. So I did. And I have to say that I didn't find enough to make me believe that anagrams were on the minds of the writers when they were naming the characters. There are some interesting ones, such as our new resident Elgin. Anagram for Elgin is gentleness. Victor, our resident man-child. Victor, an anagram for Victor is vitro. So vitro, people may have heard of like in vitro, in vivo. In vitro means being raised outside of one's normal or usual environment. And as we all know, Victor arrived in Fremsville as a young boy and was essentially raised in vitro outside of a normal environment.
Yeah, that's true. That's great. Ooh.
So I kind of squealed when I found that.
I like that. Yeah, that's fun.
Victor's sister, Eloise. Anagrams include lose, silo, and isle. Isle made me think of lighthouse. Silo, also a lighthouse shape. And then lose, well, Victor lost his sister when she went running after their mom. The night or day when all the people died. The bad day. When the bad things happened. Yeah.
Yes.
Jim Matthews. Plug that in and you get words that are related to roller coaster making, such as metalsmith and schematics. And then let me see. I like this one. Jade.
Okay.
You get Deja. like deja vu.
Ooh, I like that
Jade,
one.
yeah, Jade has been having these visions with the symbol deja.
Yeah.
And I think those are the best ones. I really like the one for Victor.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too. That feels like really, really spot on
Reasonable.
and interesting. Yeah.
Boyd, Boyd, you get body. And I just thought,
Mhm.
poor Boyd's gone through so many physical problems
That's true.
with Parkinson's and then the blood worms. And then, my blood is your blood, motherfucker. Oh, and I plugged in touch steel break
Okay.
as one word. And what I got back was black hearts and shatterable.
Ooh.
Ooh. Oh, and one more. Let me see. Fatima, shamanist, and Satanism.
Oh.
Oh, and then, well, Ethan, you get Thane, which is a royalty adjacent landowner.
Huh.
I just thought it's a Chromonacle and it's little quests and yeah. Oh. So Martin,
Mhm.
Martin from the Tower. Martin, you get rant and arm. And then I plugged in Martin's name as Martin Tower
Mhm.
and got Terminator, Germinator, Marionette,
Ooh.
and Retransmit.
Ooh. Those
So
last two are especially interesting.
I know, right? So, like I said, I think my theory failed. My experiment failed. My theory was
Oh.
not proven. However, found some interesting, fun ones.
Definitely. Those are interesting.
If anyone has any others, we'd love to hear them.
Yes. Donna, one of our great listeners, told us that Donna backwards is anod, which means to postpone or delay. Yeah, so Scene Sublime is who posted that. Thank you for your comment, Scene Sublime.
That's
And
great.
yeah, and I really love that. A nod meaning postpone or delay, which kind of plays into how it always feels like she's trying to kind of delay things,
Yeah,
postpone communication or telling people the truth, or
right.
it's kind of ironic how she was so upset with Boyd for not telling her what was going on with Mr. Smiley, but at the same time, she never wants to tell anybody anything.
Yeah, no, and you don't say a word until I tell you to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, those are really interesting and they're fun. Yeah, I would like to hear if anybody else has any other good anagrams. I think they're fun to play with. I know they used it in Lost quite a bit too.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely think that the effort to kind of look and see what's there is certainly worth it when that we're working with some of the same peeps. So
Well, and this is also going off of what you had told me about the number of places that were named after something related to space.
mm-hmm. Yes, right. Yeah, there's the celestial elementary, there's the cosmic, what is it, the Cosmic Star Motel.
Those aren't accidents.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I was just looking at something. So it occurred to me, I was just thinking back to the scene in the RV with Boyd. Yes, with Boyd, but like before Abby got there, but when the radio started.
Oh yeah,
started playing and featured very prominently was the number 47. Did you notice that?
Oh, on the radio?
On the radio. Yeah. Right. 47. And so I always feel like numbers are important in these situations. So I was just thinking about it, and I was flipping through my book, and I happened to, because I was looking for the Bhakta, we had talked about that, and so I was trying to find the exact reference, and Bhakta.
Your notebook.
Yeah, my notebook, yeah. So the Bhakta reference was a tank that that had a fluid that accelerates healing and treats major injuries. So the reason we had discussed that was because it does seem like everybody heals very quickly here. But underneath that, I made a note that season 1, episode 6 was titled Book 74.
Oh.
Uh-huh. And the opposite of 74 is 47.
No. Sorry, so what episode was this?
This was season 1, episode 6, and book 74. And In that episode, it should definitely be rewatched. So if you guys are like in a rewatching mood, I highly recommend it. But it's the one where Father Kotri is saying, what if we're book 74? Meaning we're the new book to the Bible is being written right now, and we are that book.
Oh, wow.
Was what he was like proposing to Boyd.
Father Kotri went deep and dark.
Yeah.
I've been doing a slow rewatch of season 1. I'm gonna go back and watch number 6.
I did a full rewatch, but I still feel now that like I always feel once you get all the new episodes, like once we're done with 10, I'm gonna go back and watch it all together probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was what that was about. So then it reminded me that I wanted to look up 47. So I did just now. And 47 is featured quite prominently through the Bible in a lot of different ways.
Oh, how?
But it says that it's the numerical value of the verse of Genesis where it is written, and God saw that it was good.
Like building a new world.
Yeah.
Like
gematria. And there were 47 names. 47 names of Pharaoh are listed. The bishop wrote on the ground during the dedication of a church 47 signs. 47 is considered as being the number of the law.
Of 47.
Yeah. So there's a lot of symbolic meaning, I think, behind 47.
I wonder why. It's just there's got to be some mysticism involved, or
yeah. It's a spiritual and mystical angel number. And it says here as an angel number 47 is a spiritual and mystical number that the angels send to congratulate you for all the progress that you've made on your spiritual path. It's also an angel number that acts as an encouragement to keep putting in effort and deepening your spiritual experience. It symbolizes an assurance from guardian angels that soon you will enjoy the rewards of your perseverance and hard work through everything.
Sounds like Frumsters.
That is interesting. And then shortly thereafter, Abby showed up. So perhaps as his angel, that was her way of, another way of encouraging him.
Yeah. Well, and she was dressed white top.
She had that white jacket on.
Yeah. Yeah. I really believe that was Abby, or an entity working towards good.
Right. Yeah. I think so too.
Like the boy in white.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the symbols. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear about the bottle tree.
Yes. Let's talk about the bottle tree. So there's a bunch of different symbols in this show, and as Ethan has said, we have to discern, what symbols are good and what symbols are bad.
Yep.
And one of the things that I had actually forgotten about until more recently was the bottle tree that Sarah and Boyd came across. So I broke down our symbols into different categories. I had the talisman, which I think kind of is its own category, and then the cave and notebook symbols. Yeah. And then the drawings, and sort of they're their own symbolic thing, and then other symbols. So I put the bottle tree in the category of the other symbols. And so bottle trees were used in the South as a form of protection at a crossroads or possibly like around your house. And they were meant to capture traveling spirits or ghosts. And the idea was that you could trap them in the bottle until the sun rises, and then once the sun rises, it would destroy whatever evil spirits were trapped in the bottle.
Ooh.
And so it also says the bottle trees were hung upside down as talismans to ward off evil spirits. So I almost wondered if the bottle tree was like an early talisman of whoever created it there in the woods. It made me wonder if people can, have just gotten trapped here all through time. And so we're seeing like little different versions of the way that people tried to protect themselves.
In episode 1-9 that I watched after 2-9, Boyd and Sarah, they're on their quest in the forest, and they come across a bottle tree. And Sarah becomes overwhelmed with the voices in her head, and they, move away from the bottle tree, and they're camped out. And when Sarah kind of comes to, Boyd says, I think he passed out or whatever. And he shows her a bottle that he brought with him.
Right.
And I believe it has a note in it. I was fast forwarding because we were trying to record and I didn't have a lot of time. But he mentions a date, I believe 1864. And Sarah says, the voices that I heard, they were different than the ones that told me to, kill Ethan or do the terrible things that I did. This voice was a different voice, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And then she says, it said something like, tell Mr. Fish and Loaves that I was wrong.
Right.
And Boyd, freaks out because that's Abby.
Yeah.
But the bottle, the note with the date on it, it corresponds to the numbers that we see written on the stairway in the lighthouse or tower vision that Tabitha has in that episode. She's climbing the steps.
Okay.
To go upstairs from her basement digging, and then finds herself climbing these circular stairway up a tower.
Yeah.
And at one point she trips over toys and says, Ethan, I told you to pick these up. There's an ambulance, there's a ball, there's a dump truck, there's a playing card, but all these dates are carved, in the concrete. And so one of the dates corresponded with the date in the bottle tree, on the note in the bottle tree.
Oh wow. So I wonder what that connection is. What do you think that could mean?
Well, first I thought, are these people that have been there, like how long have people been getting trapped in Frumville?
Yeah.
I believe one date was like 1600s,
Yeah.
But there's certainly cycles that appear to be happening in Frumsville.
Definitely, I agree.
One of them being, the arc that Tabitha seems to be on, with the lighthouse or the tower, and the Ancui kids. And Ethan, it seems like she's replaying what happened with Victor's mom.
Yeah, it does very much seem that way.
And I think you had noted in our last little short episode that there aren't really kids in Frumsville.
Right.
They're the ones that we hear about, and they're the ones that Tabitha sees in her visions.
Yep.
And I don't know, whatever that little feral thing was that we saw in the tunnels. But it appears to be, one of the kids that Tabitha sees. And there's Ethan and Victor, who was a little boy when he lost his mom. So just wondering what we're going to see.
So I know you're talking about sort of the cyclical nature of what's going on, like in the current timeline with Tabitha and what happened to Victor. And we've talked a little bit about that flashback that we got to see of Victor in episode 9, and you had a really great question that I wanted to kind of talk about so that we could also get the opinion of our listeners too. So
not to get us too far away from symbols and anagrams, but I was thinking, when Victor's telling Tabitha about the drawing and remembering his sister Eloise and what happened that night, that the last time he saw his mom, he says, my mom told me to be good, and for us to be good and to stay where we were in that little underground cellar place, and then she left. And then as he remembers more, he tells Tabitha that Eloise ran after their mom, and he never saw her again, never saw his mom, never saw Eloise again.
Right.
But then when Tabitha picks up the drawing of the tower and the children, Victor says, oh, Eloise told me that's where our mom went. She went to go save the children that were trapped in the tower. And I thought, well, how would he know that? How would Eloise know that? It's not. And
like you're sure that you're sure, like, okay. Perhaps that meant, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I guess in the moment I was thinking what it meant was like, where's mom going?
Right.
Oh, she went to go help the kids in the tower. Like she told me that's where she was going.
No, but that's not what he says, and that's not what we see happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what he says happened. In his telling of the story, the mom's like, stay here, be good. When I come back, we're all going to get out of here.
Right.
And mom leaves, and then Eloise freaks out and runs after mom.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor's left behind calling for his sister to come back. And he says, I never saw her again, or that was the last time I ever saw her. But then he's saying, Eloise told me this is where mom went, that night. She went to go rescue the kids from the tower. So it sounds like he's saying Eloise went and then came back and relayed this information.
Right,
but how could she have done that if that was the last time he saw her, was running after their mom on that terrible night before anything happened?
Well, I mean, if it's an unreliable narrator situation, I mean, it's possible that he's not remembering things correctly.
How would he know about it? How would he know that that's where their mom was going to go and what she was going to do? I don't know. It all made me think he probably got a visitation from Ghost Eloise.
That's probably more. Yeah, that's probable. Yeah.
Based on the way things seem to work.
That's true.
In Crumbsville.
You're right. Yeah. Actually, that makes the most sense.
Right.
That makes the most sense based on what we've seen so far. I guess that then just begs the question of if he was visited by Eloise. When was that? When did it stop? And why did he completely forget about her after that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. Probably the most likely thing would be that, she told him in some kind of dream or hallucination.
How fucked up is that? That's the most logical explanation.
It is. Yeah. It's just a ghost. That's who said it. We're not crazy. We're not weirdos for talking about that like it's totally normal. But if you guys have picked up on the same thing, do you agree? Do you disagree? Are we missing something? We would love to hear.
One last thing. It puts another spin on the way that Victor describes his drawings. I believe in episode 1 of the season, he says, I draw and the pictures remember.
Right.
So it could be that he's drawn his sister, but in a kind of dissociative state. Like he won't remember her.
Yeah.
But he'll draw it knowing that then it'll be there for him to come back to.
I see.
At some point.
Like he's not connecting whatever the part of him that remembers who she is with the like not connecting that like that's who I'm drawing here.
Or maybe like she's showing him things that he's drawing that he couldn't have known or seen.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's confusing is that Victor says that the drawings are things that he's seen that have happened already. Right. And then last time you also mentioned, or it was mentioned on the show, or we talked about it, but where he said that the pictures were stories that his mom told him.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that happened in the episode because it's when Tabitha and Jade are having their conversation, and Jade says, "Well, how could I be having hallucinations of a Civil War soldier?"
Right.
And that's when Tabitha says, no, Victor said the drawings were of the stories that his mom told him. And he was like, well, that still begs the question of why am I having hallucinations of a story that a woman told Victor 40 years ago?
Right.
He's like, my question's still the same, but that's what Tabitha said. So I was like, well, wait a minute. Are the drawings things that he's seen or the drawing stories that his mom told him? But then I thought perhaps what he meant was that the ones that were in the trunk were ones that were from stories his mom told him, but the ones that he draws now are things that he's seen.
I think that's it, because he hid them away. They were too painful to remember because his sister was in them, or maybe did a lot of them. Yeah.
So different types of drawings.
Yes.
Okay. One other thing, since we're talking about the drawings, that I wanted to sort of correct.
Yeah.
In our last shorter video, we were talking about like natural disasters, and I mentioned that it looked like a tornado was sort of
Right.
coming and circling a house. But when I looked at it further and I looked at it in context with the other drawings and the opening credits in particular, I now do not think that's the case anymore. I think that what it is like the tree roots or, something from the forest and the trees coming
Yeah.
and ensnaring the house. And I
I
feel
know
like that makes more sense because, Victor has been measuring the trees and saying that the trees were moving and they had moved 4 inches.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what does that mean? Are the trees like slowly inching closer and closer to the town? Are the trees sort of meant to be enveloping the town and everything there? The terrors are crossing over from the forest into the town, and that kind of represents that, which I think is probably part of it. What do
Yeah,
you think?
I believe he's talked before about the trees coming closer,
Mm-hmm.
encroaching on the town.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're moving faster.
Right.
Again, the theme of cycles, things repeating themselves. I believe that something like this may have happened before because it's one of his drawings.
Right. Yeah.
So he's, fearfully measuring to see how close.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I wonder too, I know that we talked about how in the next episode, in the finale, Sarah tells Boyd that they're laughing at him, that he kind of carried it into the town. So it could coincide with that too. The fact that whatever infection Boyd contracted, he carried it back into the town. And now again, it's like whatever those terrors are in the forest are getting closer and closer to them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say last episode when they're in the RV and there's that knocking at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
What if those are tree roots?
Right. It could be. Yeah. Tree. Yeah. That's really
malevolent tree roots.
Malevolent tree roots. Again, we say without flinching.
That makes sense.
Also, looking at these, that one image that we see like the dark black monsters that are kind of leaning over the bed, and there's a little kid underneath the bed.
Hiding. Yeah.
Yeah. But that also just makes me think of like the dream aspect of it, of like the night terrors or whatever entering into their dreams, into their sleep.
Yeah.
So it made me think about that a little bit more.
That one picture, I believe it's meant to be from the days before the talisman, when they would have to hide.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It's also like a child's nightmare.
Yeah. And the eye always gets me in the opening credits.
No.
That one I'm I don't know what the deal is with that one yet. I haven't been
that I believe is at nighttime, when you're in your house, you've got creatures knocking at the doors and windows and trying to get in, and the people of Frumsville are fearfully looking out. If someone knocks on the door, fearfully looking to see who it is.
Yeah.
Because the eye looks afraid. Ooh, and that eye, if you look carefully, go back and look, there are lashes.
Yeah.
Like a child would draw. But then at the inner corner of the eye, there are lashes that look like worms.
Yeah, worms, or again, like those tree roots or something that's kind of. Yeah.
I only just noticed that.
I see that too. Yeah.
All right. So symbols.
Yes. Symbols. Okay. So we talked about the bottle tree. There's also, staying with some of the other symbols, we've got crows, which are definitely symbolic on this show. So I just looked up a little bit more about crows. They often represent transformation and change, or death. So there's that. or death. Or also as messengers capable of existing between both worlds.
Ooh.
Yes, it says that crows can be either a good omen or a bad omen. So that, of course, takes me back to Ethan saying, is this a good symbol or a bad symbol?
You have to figure it out.
And in Native American culture, they're often considered messengers as well between the living and the dead, and also sometimes as tricksters. So, yeah, one crow is bad, like bad luck or a bad omen, bad luck. Two is often good luck or good omen, and three is like impending change. So the fact that we see that one crow initially, I think that's meant to signify that that's a bad omen. But also, I just thought the trickster part of it was interesting too, because they are kind of getting tricked into stopping and entering into this crazy world. So yes, there you go. So that's just a little bit more about crows, and I think maybe the ways that it ties in are pretty self-evident. What do you think?
Well, yeah, Elgin wearing the crow shirt.
Right. And what does that mean that he's wearing it? Like, is him wearing it again? Like, I know I said this before. It was like, is he dead? Or is he wearing it? Is him wearing it meant to be like he's a messenger between the living and the dead? Like he's a special conduit. We know that he had a dream and that he hasn't revealed what it is yet, but he seemed pretty bothered and upset by it. And so he's wearing one crow on the front of his shirt, bringing bad news, a messenger bringing some bad news, one crow messenger.
First of all, with him wearing the crow shirt when he entered the town, it makes me think again that he's been here before. Yeah. And it's almost like this is my ticket back into town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I still think he's been there before as well.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah. It's like, well, like I said, it's like he knows that there are crows involved. I think when you leave Frumsville, you're going to memory wipe.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things that you remember. I know crows are involved. Can't remember exactly how, but right. And so it's symbolic.
Yeah.
In the opening credits, you're constantly seeing shots of crows flying over the town.
Yeah. You have like the singular crow that's sort of sitting there squawking. And then you have like a group of crows, which of course, as we know, is called a murder of crows.
Yep.
In the crossing over to one of the other categories, in the caves, there's a carving or drawing of 11 crows.
Oh.
Okay, so inside the tunnel cave area, we have that spot, where there's all those drawings on the walls. So in one spot, there are 11 crows drawn, and below that, they're kind of like in a V shape. And then below that, there's just like a little symbol that's like a quadrangle of sorts. It's got it's like shorter on the top, longer on the bottom, and then two equal sides. So that's on there. There's a lot of people, like there's a spot. Sometimes it looks like some of the drawings, to be honest.
Like Victor's drawings?
Yeah, some of Victor's drawings. There's an infinity symbol. There's definitely some writing, but I can't tell what the language is. There's some people that are drawn in white and some people that are drawn in red. My guess is maybe that like the monsters are meant to be the red ones.
That's what I would guess.
Yeah. There's and they're usually like at the bottom underneath the houses. Like there's like a little house drawn. And then there's another area where you have all of those sort of E's with the tails. That you see on they kind of look like half of a pine tree in a way, but yeah, on the talisman, it's that symbol that looks like an FE thing, and it is surrounding what looks to be people coming down a river in boats.
Yeah.
And on either side of this river, you've got triangles, so maybe trees, but also those symbols that I think still could pass for trees, and then beneath that, there's like a stack of red looking bricks. And I'm wondering if that's like the tower or something. And then let's see what else. There's a spot where two suns are intersecting. There's trees in the shape of the talisman. Like, so surrounding another house, and talking about the big red thing that looks like it has tentacles.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that either.
I wondered if it was a giant cicada because of the lines.
To me, it looks more like a monster of some sort.
I was going to say, yeah, but I'm more inclined to think that it's whatever is the big bad behind Frumsville.
Yes.
Or whatever controls,
mm-hmm.
The bad stuff in Frumsville.
I think so. I think it could even pass for like a Satan type creature. You could argue that it looks like it has wings and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think you're probably right. That's what I would agree with you, that's what that represents.
All the other figures are so small in comparison.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of in the middle of everything.
Right. It's like a perverted god figure.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then we've got the symbol, which the symbol shows up in, it looks like 3 different variations. So I don't know if it's like the same symbol sort of, or if the 3 mean very different things. I think again it's significant that there's 3 of them. But the main one kind of looks like an A.
And it's not just that they're turned around, like one is right side up, one is,
yes,
at 3 o'clock, and one's at 6 o'clock. It's not that.
It's The other interesting thing about it is 3 lines drawn within a circle.
Yep.
And all of these lines do have a point of intersection. So I think that's important too. I was also looking at it feeling like, in a way, it looks like trees, like the edges are red, and it made me wonder if it's kind of like the trees and those roots that are sort of closing in on the town. So that was one thing I saw. And, or it could be something like intersecting dimensions. If we are talking about different like pocket, a pocket universe, maybe it's like where they all meet is sort of where they're at.
What if it's like there's shadows and the sun has to be hitting like on a certain day, like a solstice, and the lines represent what your shadows, 3 people, what the shadows would look like if you're standing in the right place.
Yeah. It could be like a map. Like maybe the way to get out is at the intersection point.
Yeah. It's so all this stuff is written in the area where the monsters sleep.
Right.
I wonder who drew these things.
Well, Victor says, you see, they make drawings too. So so the implication would be that they is the monsters.
But
I don't know.
Getting out. I mean, I would expect monsters when they're drawing to just be drawing a lot of like grrr and blood and guts over the eyes.
Yeah. I think the who is they is a really big question.
Well, it makes me think that the monsters were formerly people in Frumsville.
I would agree. I think they were. Yeah, I really do. I think they were probably alive during that time period. The looks like it's very like throwback to the 50s, and so I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah.
The circle could represent the town itself being a loop. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. What would the lines mean then?
I think that's a good question. I mean, it could mean maybe the grip of whatever, the tree roots for this town. It could mean, I don't know. Again, if you want to look back at the the here they come for 3.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the number 3 again. Is it possibly, could the lines represent the forest sort of coming for 3 into the town? Like the tentacles of the roots of the forest reaching into the town to get the 3 that it's going to take. I don't know. I mean, that's probably a stretch, but
when you first hit Frumsville, you're there because there's the fallen tree.
Right.
There are the crows. And is there a third symbol that alerts you to the fact that you're in Frumsville?
Well, you've got the tree, you've got the crow. I feel like the loop itself is kind of what, you just keep driving around in a circle. I do think it's important that, like, I don't know, the diner and the motel are right there across from each other. Their signs are red. Like, they're sort of, this bloody, the red represents just the, death and blood and stuff. But in terms of like symbols, like if there being another symbol that lets you know ahead of time.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I can't think of anything. Like at the start, but perhaps I'm missing something. Perhaps I'm not
No,
thinking
I'm
about
just,
it.
I was making a reach, but
Mhm.
when I look at the symbol, what strikes me is that the lines look like tree roots.
Yeah, I think so.
And I know I keep going back to tree roots and probably watching too much Yellow Jackets, but I wonder if, if the trees are malevolent, if the trees are moving, it would seem that they would be worthy of a symbol.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that like the
Yeah.
tree roots are. Yeah, it's the roots that are sort of have the hold over this town. Like they're also in triangles. There's lots of triangles formed,
Like Dale.
like Dale, like the triangle there. Even on the talisman. So okay, let's talk about the talisman.
Yeah.
All right, so the talisman is characterized with these in the very center. You have these two stick figure people that are kind of on either side of each other, and then on the sides of them, you've got the sun on the right side and presumably the moon on the left side. So I look at the stick figure people as the people during the day, but at night the monsters rule. So I kind of think of it that way.
I like that.
And the symbol in the middle that sort of connects the stick figures is actually a symbol for God.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like those two triangles there that intersect is a symbol for God.
Huh.
So that's interesting. And then those symbols in a circle around it, the sort of F or the E with the little tail on it. There's some different conversations out there about what the symbol most accurately looks like. There's not one that specifically matches that one exactly. So people are kind of going on just what it could mean. There's one symbol that has two, making it look like an F instead of an E. And that one is called ash, or the ash tree. So that kind of applies because of the tree aspect of it. Yeah, the ash tree. But the one that I like is that same symbol, but turned the okay. So that same symbol, if you flip it and reverse it, it means window.
Whoa.
So like an opening. So apparently in these languages and the symbology, a lot of times if you reverse a symbol, it just means the opposite.
Yeah.
So if you reverse that symbol, the opposite of a window could mean a blockage or a closure or something in the way.
A wall, a door.
A way, exactly. And so the talismans are a way of blocking and making a closure in the houses between the people and the monsters.
That's really good. That's really interesting.
So I just thought that was, in my opinion, out of the different things that I read and researched, that one felt like it made the most sense.
Yeah, it really seems to stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's my thought on that. So if you then go back into the tunnels and you look at okay, where do you see, where there's some repeating motifs, so to speak.
What did you find?
Then you've got with the people that are coming down the river.
Yeah.
They have that symbol all around them. So perhaps that means that going down a river is the way out. Because if all of these talisman or this symbol is showing this will protect you, and it's totally alongside either side of the river, then maybe that's a message or a clue saying that if you were to find this river and travel this river in boats, you would be able to get out of here. You'd be protected.
That's really good.
I don't know, but just a thought.
Really good. I'm trying to remember when Boyd and Sarah got to the lighthouse, or they found the lighthouse. We hear noises that sound like the horn of a lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
But then it keeps going and it sounds more like an alarm, like a tornado alert.
Yeah.
And this is before, right before their tent gets pulled into the spidery part of the forest. But I think it would make sense that if the tower's the way out, or, it's by the water.
Or a way out. Maybe there's more than one way.
Right.
So.
By by water where you can get out.
Right.
It would make sense. There'd be an alarm like, hey, people are getting too close to the.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Exit point.
Yeah, that's what I definitely think that there are things in place for when people start to get too close to figuring something out. It's like in the Truman Show.
Yeah. Oh God, we're going back to that.
But like the closer he would get to the wall, the closer he would get to like figuring the truth out, the crazier shit got, because they were trying to get him to quit, to turn around, to get scared, whatever, and it would get worse and worse and worse. But once he realized that he was being screwed around with, he wasn't scared anymore, because he was like, you can't hurt me. I'm going to go all the way to the end, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to figure out what's behind the curtain,
Well,
so
that brings me to what I was saying earlier about Sarah.
Right.
Sarah at this point has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
She's lost everything.
Yeah.
Right. To the point where she's suicidal. But she also has a strength about her now that I've never seen before.
I agree.
And I think I've never really been a big fan of that character, but I like the arc that she's on, and I like what I'm seeing now, and I like the idea of someone who has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And what that could mean for the town.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when they say like you could really be of some help at this point, this is how you can help. I think that's so yeah, I mean, in the symbol, it could be timelines intersecting, it could be tree roots, it could be, the three spoken about in the rhyme, it could be, a clue on how to get out, it could be a number of things. So I wonder what you guys think. What do you think is the meaning behind those three lines, and also the talisman? Let's see. I think that's about all I wanted to say on it.
Yeah, I think that's it on my end too.
Yeah. So lots of good stuff to think about. Yeah. And I'm really excited to watch the finale and see if we're gonna get any answers. As I'm sure we'll also get new mysteries, new questions, obviously.
Yeah, I would bet in that direction.
Yeah. But it's been really fun. And, I know this, there's no, obviously, like Jade said, we have all these pieces to this puzzle, but we don't really know what form it is yet. So it's hard to be able to put out, definitive, obviously we don't know what's going to happen, but it is fun to theorize about it, or to think about what some of these clues might mean to the greater, plot of the show and where it might be heading. So
yeah.
What's something that you would like to have answered in the finale?
Oh gosh. I'd like to know what's going on with Julie, Mary, and Randall. If they're in comas, if they're in nightmares, what they're experiencing. That's not going to happen, but that's something I'd be interested to know more about. A more realistic thing, I'd like to know more about what the OG monsters are doing now that one of their own has been killed, and they're behaving differently. Standing back from the RV and smiling. Yeah,
I agree. That would be nice to have that answered.
What about you?
I just want to know if this wedding is going to go off. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. Don't give a shit about the wedding. But I had to make a joke. I mean, yay for them, but yeah. Let's see. I kind of want to know what's going on with those kids. I'd like to know, like, what are they, how and why are they trapped? Yeah, the Ankui kids. I think I'd like to know why they're trapped and why they're trying to get help from Tabitha. I'm sure we won't get that answer. Maybe we'll get half of the answer. I don't know. Maybe we'll get an almost answer. Maybe nothing. But yeah, I'd kind of like to know that, just because I feel like that is an important piece of the
lore
of whatever's happening here, or
Well,
how
yeah,
it
I mean,
started.
if they're being held for a reason, for a purpose.
Yeah.
What is that purpose?
Yeah.
Is the town, living off of fear? Is it living off?
Yeah.
Is it mining the children for
Yeah.
fear?
Are they
nightmares?
victims? Are they victims, or are they victims who then turned into perpetrators?
Yeah.
I think we talked in our last episode about them maybe being the ones that are controlling everything.
Yeah.
To try and contain it to get freed. Which I don't think would be achieved by the end of this finale, obviously, because then that solves everything.
I'm thinking more and more, though, that rather than them being the ones that are harassing our Frumsville villagers or whatever, townspeople, that it's something more like overlords using the children and draining them of power somehow, and using their childlike fears to scare the people in the town.
Yeah, I definitely think that it goes bigger than the kids. I think they're, even if they are like on the totem pole, up the way of being able to do things that freak people out, I still think that there's probably a larger force that's
right.
Yeah, overpowering everything.
The big red thing in the tunnel.
Yeah, because it feels like this goes back not more than just the 1950s. It feels like this goes back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Civil War, I understand that like the Civil War and his hallucination was probably, just connected to that
story
drawing, whatever, a story. Yeah. But I mean, there are still like ruins type things there, and we're talking about symbols and symbology and stuff that goes back farther than just like the 1950s. So yeah, I think there's probably a greater mythology and a greater lore to everything that's going on here. That's bigger than just whatever's going on with those kids.
Well, can't wait to learn about it.
Me either. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed the video and want to keep getting more updates, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Until then, thank you guys so much, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
When I was just a little boy, I asked my father, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Is what